Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, September 25th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies with a high of 91 in San Antonio today, and this weekend should bring more sunshine and highs in the low 90s. The new Braunfels Trump train rolled again last night. Hundreds regularly gather for a vehicle rally one organizer says is a celebration of the president that most residents support. Others say they've grown tired of partisan triumphalism and worry that extremists hitching along will incite or provoke violence. Sig Christensen and Bruce Selcraig have the report from the weekly event. Tonight, UTSA football plays its first conference game of the 2020 season against Middle Tennessee in the Alamo Dome. Greg Luca has more about how the team prepared during a short week for a surprise opponent. And now let's move on to the top stories for the day. For the first time in Texas's history, the state has a method, albeit limited, for voters to register online. The state was forced to set up the online voter registration system by a U.S. district judge in San Antonio who ruled last month that Texas officials were violating the National Voter Registration Act by denying residents a chance to register to vote anytime they applied for, renewed, or updated their driver's license. Taylor Goldstein and Jeremy Blackman have more on the online registration portal and who is most affected by the change. Of the 21 advanced neonatal facilities given a Level 4 designation from the Texas Department of State Health Services, 5 are located in San Antonio. In 2014, the city had 2. Dr. Christine Ahn, a neonatologist and medical director of St. Luke's NICU, said San Antonio has become a hub for advanced neonatal care because most hospitals in surrounding communities don't have the equipment or experienced staff to treat premature or very sick babies. Yet, for all the benefits of an abundance of these units in San Antonio, researchers warn that regions with higher neonatal intensive care capacity also see more instances of overuse, of placing newborns in the units even if they don't necessarily need to be there. Laura Garcia explores the NICU landscape in her latest article. Brandon Heya took his 2015 Tundra pickup truck into Red McCombs Toyota for a wheel alignment and other maintenance 2 summers ago. Heya said he discovered after the work was completed that his Springfield Armory XDS 45 caliber handgun was missing from the truck's center console. He suspected a dealership mechanic stole it. The San Antonio dealership, however, determined that none of its employees took the gun. Unhappy with the dealership's response, Heya proceeded to let the world know his take on what happened, launching an online campaign against the dealership. Not surprisingly, Heya's actions didn't go over well with Red McCombs Toyota, which sued him for defamation. Heya responded with a countersuit, kicking off a legal battle that continues more than 2 years later. Patrick Danner has all the details in his latest article. Gilbert Garcia writes, quote, "Mindful of the fact that the best way to protect the health of voters while we grapple with the stealth menace of the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Greg Abbott extended the early voting period for this year's general election by 6 days. It should be in the interest of everyone in this state during this unprecedented election cycle to make the voting process as safe and efficient as possible. Who could object to an emergency measure that does nothing to tamper with the integrity of the voting process, but simply reduces the health risk for poll workers and voters who want to voice their choice?" Well, several of Abbott's fellow Republicans objected enough to file a petition challenging the governor's proclamation. Find out what Gilbert Garcia thinks the lawsuit is really about in his latest column. About 6,300 students and staff have been infected with COVID-19 since public schools began reopening in late July, according to new state data released September 24th. Private schools are not included in the tallies. The Department of State Health Services and the Texas Education Agency plans to update the data every Wednesday by 5 p.m. Check out the link in this episode's description for all the latest numbers. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. The Metropolitan Health District reported 177 new cases of the novel coronavirus in Bexar County Thursday. 5 deaths that occurred within the last 2 weeks were also reported Thursday, bringing the city's death toll to 1,073. University Health System plans to acquire an 80-acre tract near Shanefield and 1604 for $13.4 million as part of a plan to expand access to medical services throughout the San Antonio area. About 6,300 students and staff in Texas have been infected with COVID-19 since public schools began reopening in late July, representing a roughly 0.33% infection rate. Numbers for school districts are now available, but they include some glitches. Brian Lujan, the owner of Big Lou's Pizza, said the 20-year-old restaurant has been having some difficulties keeping the business afloat during the coronavirus pandemic after a Facebook post penned by a customer went viral, claiming it was in danger of closing. A slightly leaner $247.5 million budget for the 2021 fiscal year, approved unanimously this week by the Via Metropolitan Transit Board, is not as draconian as once feared and might forecast its scope of spending for the next few years, according to the agency's CEO, Jeff Arndt. A billboard touting the League of United Latin American Citizens has gone up along a stretch of Interstate 35 between San Marcos and New Braunfels, replacing a political message designed to provoke that had been condemned as racist. Governor Greg Abbott announced aggressive new legislative proposals Thursday meant to crack down on the type of protest that unfolded this summer across Texas and much of the country, including mandatory jail time for lighting fireworks, throwing water bottles at police officers, or helping organize what he loosely called riots. Most likely voters in Texas, 52%, disapprove of Joe Biden, while just 41% approve of the former vice president. Texans are more split on President Donald Trump, according to a pair of polls of likely voters released on Thursday. The 80-year-old Alasan Apache Courts on San Antonio's west side, including a large section scheduled to be demolished, has landed on a National Preservation Group's list of the nation's most threatened historical sites. Trust in the CDC is eroding, the Express News editorial board writes, adding, quote, "Flip-flopping like an embattled politician, the CDC has issued guidelines and directives one day only to walk them back the next." Business columnist Chris Tomlinson writes, quote, "President Donald Trump did not build a wall, and Mexico did not pay for it. His immigration policies, though, have hurt the economy and put the nation's prosperity at risk." In writing that more transparency is better in college football, sports columnist Mike Finger asks, why don't more coaches see that not only is being transparent the right thing to do, it doesn't hurt their chances of winning to do it? About 2 years after selling the assets of Aramendias Plumbing, Heating, and Air, including the name, John and Ann Aramendias returned with First Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. About a year into the new venture, First Call has about 35 employees and 20 service vehicles. The pace of growth has exceeded their expectations, so now they're renovating their old company's shop near Interstate 35 and Weedner Road. The space is at least twice the size of their current space on Arion Parkway near the San Antonio International Airport. In John's office at First Call's current digs, John and Ann Aramendias recently spoke about their old company, their short-lived retirement, and not being able to use their family name in the new venture. You can find their Q&A at the link in this episode's description. There are Mexican restaurants, and then there are restaurants from Mexico. Get a taste of Mexico at Cervecería Chapultepec, El Pastor es mi Señor, and La Laguna, Mariscos, and Sushi with Mike Sutter's latest reviews. Neil Sperry addresses lacebug problems and other readers' gardening issues in his down-to-earth column, while Calvin Finch gets you ready for fall's hummingbird migration. Dan Ward, general manager of 2 Piatti restaurant and bar locations in San Antonio, said that the family of restaurants will open a new concept called Camp Outpost Co at the intersection of South Alamo and South Flores Streets on Tuesday. With TAPS and UIL 5A and 6A seasons beginning this week, coaches are saying flexibility and safety awareness will be the keys to a successful launch. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Friday, September 25th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. See you Monday.